Hello and good morning. How are you today? Here we are back together for another class number 1178, the never-ending story of your English. You remember several times I've told you that Joaquín Leguina hace 1000 años decía, el español es un ser que nace y muere y entre tanto intenta aprender inglés. Okay. I think that Mr. Leguina is exaggerating a little bit, perhaps, but I've been teaching English for 51 years, and it's very difficult to learn English, or French, or German, or Spanish, or Italian. It's very difficult to learn a language well if you don't live in the country where it is spoken. It took me a long time to master Spanish, living here. So you can imagine how difficult it is for you and for Mr. Leguina and for Marta to master English living in Spain. You walk out on the streets and you hear Spanish, usually. You turn on the television and you hear Spanish, usually, etc. But if you live in England or the States or Canada, whatever, English is floating around you all the time. And so in the end, you begin to sintonizar. You begin to tune into the language, and it begins to affect your speech in a positive way. And you begin to say things, anda, he usado una estructura que nunca había usado. No, you've heard it many times, and in the end, it comes out. Yes, it comes out. Because it's in your subconscious, and the more you hear, the more English resides in your self-conscious. And then when it's big, when it's, it's full, it begins to come out. And so you just need exposure. El truco está no en codos, en exposición. Que te cale el inglés. All right. 3 more paragraphs. I want to do 3 paragraphs on page 100 at the top. At the top. I started it yesterday. He saw her among the shops. He saw her, la vio entre las tiendas in Acapulco. He saw her. He saw her. He saw her. Un nativo no dice he saw her. Dicen he saw her. Si es él, he saw him. He saw you. He saw him. Is them. He saw him. He saw us. Saw us. Saw us. He saw us. He saw her among the shops in Acapulco, but he didn't approach her. He didn't go up to her. Se dice más lo último. No se le acercó. La vio, pero no se le acercó. No se acercó a ella. He saw her, but he didn't approach her. He saw her, but he didn't go up to her. The next day, he saw her on the beach, in la playa, and began a conversation. She was from Paraguay. The next day they got married. This is a true story. However, he saw her first on the beach and the next day among the shops. I switched the story to make it slightly different. And it was true. She was from Paraguay. She was a national swimmer. She was a member of the Paraguayan female swimming team. And she was visiting Acapulco for a few days for a swimming meet, a swimming tournament or competition, torneo de natación o competición. And he saw her, in reality, he saw her on the beach. He thought, wow, she's really good looking. But he didn't have the courage to approach. He continued. However, the following day he saw her again. And he said, look, this is the second time. God is telling me, a por ella, go for her. And he did. They got married the next day. He said because she was leaving Acapulco the following day and to continue to other swimming events, and that she didn't have plans to come back to And so she said, you can come to Paraguay. They said, well, They got married the next day. I can't believe it. Of course, some people in Las Vegas do this, okay? They get married in a little chapel in Las Vegas. But they were very happy. Because when I met him, I think they had been married for about 12 years and had 3 children. Interesting life. He was an engineer, or he is an engineer, and he lived in Mexico. They lived in Mexico. They moved to Germany and lived in Germany for about 5 years. Then they moved to Italy and lived in Italy. Then to Switzerland, I think. I can't remember. Then to Spain. They were living in Spain. They lived in Barcelona first and then in Madrid. It was an interesting couple moving around. Some engineers are this way. For example, Ximena, the author of this book. Her husband is an engineer. And he works in an engineering company, and they send him. So she spent 2 years living in Siberia. ¿Lo sabías? In Siberia. Yeah, near the border with Manchuria in China. She spent 2 years living in Siberia in Russia. They spent 2 years living in Canada, eso sí sabes, Canada. Yes, Canada. In Alberta. It's very important for oil and natural gas. And I think also in Zimbabwe. No, in Zimbabwe, no, or in Namibia. No, I don't remember. But moving around on different projects. So her husband was a project manager in engineering. All right, and they have 4 girls. Ximena has 4 hijas. And Ximena is a very fun person, very nice, etc. And her 4 girls, I know them, are very well brought up. Okay, so page 100, paragraph number 922. Does it seem hot to you, or is it just me? Does it seem hot to a ti? ¿Te parece que hace calor o soy yo? O solamente soy yo, es que solamente soy yo. Is it just me? El just es como solamente. Does it seem hot to you, or is it just me? Seré yo, no? Yeah. We see men and women have different body temperatures. Women are always cold. Men are always hot. Okay. And so when they sleep together in the same bed, husband and wife, well, the husband has no blankets and the wife is always with blankets. And so that's usually the case. Does it seem hot to you, or is it? Párrafo genial para practicar en inglés. Does it seem hot, or is it? Is it? Does it seem hot to you, or is it just me? What's the temperature outside? What's the temperature outside? What's the temperature? ¿Qué temperatura hace fuera? It must be close to 40 degrees. Our air conditioning unit, se dice mucho unidad de aire acondicionado, no el aparato. Our air conditioning unit is over 20 years old. Maybe we should install a new one. Maybe we should get a new one. That unit is over 20 years old. It works when it wants to work. All right? I know I've been with the mando, This is true in the radio studio. We have a remote control, and you push it, nothing. And bam, beep, it works. No, this is true. Huh? You've seen it. ¿Lo has visto, no? No? Yeah, in the radio studio, there's an air conditioning unit like the one up there. All right. But if you push the button once, it hardly ever turns on. Twice, sometimes. But otherwise, you have to hit it, bam. And for the past 10 years, llevo 10 años pegándole al pobre mando to get it, and it works. Okay. Yes. But in this case, the air conditioning unit is más de 20 años tiene, pero pobre. It's more than 20 years old. Maybe we should install a new one. A lo mejor deberíamos instalar uno nuevo. All right, maybe we should instalar, install, fijaos en la pronunciación de la segunda sílaba, install, all, todos, all, no es al, all, la caída, the fall, el otoño, the fall, yes, stall, to install. Maybe we should install a new one. That one is over 20 years old. Does it seem hot to you, or is it just me? What's the temperature outside? What's the temperature outside? It must be, esto es conclusión lógica, debe de estar por encima de los 40, o cerca de los 40 grados. It must be close to 40, it must be close to, almost. It must be close to 40 degrees. Our air conditioning unit is over 20 years old. Maybe we should install a new one. Yeah, good idea. All right. How much? Oh, we can't afford it. 4,000 euros? 4,000? Are you crazy? We can't afford a new, it works, right? It still works, of course. Okay, then it works. I don't want to spend 4,000 euros for a new air conditioning unit. You're crazy. I don't want to install anything new. This one still works. Yeah, but it's hot in here. Well, I'll call a technician to check it, okay? But I don't want to buy a new one. All right. Finally, one more paragraph. Paragraph 923 on page 100. Don't get into politics. ¿Eh? Don't get into politics. Así se dice, no te metas en política. Don't get into. Get into es como entrar en un coche, entrar en un recinto donde tienes que contorsionar el cuerpo, se dice get into. To go into es entrar en cualquier recinto. Pero si hay contorsión corporal para la entrada es to get into. O sea, es como meterse en vez de entrar en. Ok, puedes entrar al coche, pero luego te tienes que meter. To get into the car. And to get into a problem, to get into trouble, meterse un líos también. To get into. Don't get into politics. You don't have the leadership skills to become an important politician. You're a bureaucrat, and you know the internal machinery, but you'll never attract the masses. Okay. All right. This is true. This is true. Bureaucrats never become good politicians. I remember Mario Draghi. No, Mario Draghi no otro. Another Italian, European politician, European technocrata. Y no era Mario Draghi, pero también Mario Draghi. He's a very important person, very intelligent person, but he's a technocrat. And I believe he became the Prime Minister of Italy for a certain period of time. But no tira de las masas. He doesn't. Berlusconi, sí. Yeah. In the United States, Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton. Yeah. Everybody loved Bill Clinton. Le perdonaban todos los pecados. Porque era majo. Bill Clinton. Yes. And so, here it says, no te metas en política, no tienes las habilidades de liderazgo. Don't get into politics. You don't have the leadership skills to become an important politician. You're a bureaucrat, eres burócrata, eres funcionario de alto nivel. You're a bureaucrat, and you know the internal machinery. Maquinaria interna, los partidos, claro. You know the internal machinery, but you'll never attract the masses. Do you think a housewife in Moratalaz is going to vote for you? Yeah. Maybe the subgobernador del Banco de España te vota, sí, but not a housewife from Moratalaz, nor a girl like Marta from Sevilla. Will she vote for you? Or a factory worker in Almusafes, will that person vote for you? Or an unemployed person in Zamora, will that person vote for you? You know, you just don't have the leadership skills. Don't get into politics. Get into. Fijaos la pronunciación, la fonética. Don't get into politics. Don't get into politics. You don't have the leadership skills. You don't have the leadership skills to become an important politician. You're a bureaucrat. You're a bureaucrat. Bureaucrata. You're a bureaucrat. You're a bureaucrat. Yellow, yedra, yerba, You're a bureaucrat. And you know the internal machinery, maquinaria escrito. Machinery, but you'll never, futuro, nunca atraerás a las masas. You'll never attract the masses. Okay, that's it for today on Gain Fluency. Let's go on to me. Yes, Vaughan World, but el autor, me. Okay. So I was telling you the other day about Houston. I lived in Houston from birth to age 9, with 8 months in New York City, in the borough of Queens, across the East River from Manhattan. Queens and Brooklyn. New York City has 5 boroughs. Boroughs, okay, barrios, borough, como Edinburgh, boroughs. Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, and Staten Island. All right. When you travel by ferry from Manhattan to Staten Island, you pass by the Statue of Liberty. If you want to see the Statue of Liberty from a boat, go from Staten Island, from Manhattan to Staten Island, and then turn around and come back. People do it all the time. The boat carries maybe 500 people, the ferry, and the ferry crosses 30 minutes to reach Staten Island. Of the 500 people, 400 get off and go around to go back. All right, because they want to see the Port of New York. The Port of New York is beautiful, impressive. Port of New York, la Gran Bahía. It's a natural port, and one of the biggest natural ports in the world. I think the biggest natural port, Puerto Natural, no dragado, I think it's Sydney, Australia, but I'm not sure. Also, a very important natural port is Mahón in Menorca. It's a very important natural port, interestingly. But that's the port. Now, I lived for 8 months in New York City, but I don't remember except a few small details. Now, when I was born in November 1951, my mother and me, we returned home in day number 3. And immediately, in day number 4 and number 5, there was a party in my parents' house with people it was a party to receive me. It was a party for, a new addition to the family. And so a lot of people. And my sister was 3 years old, the party. And people began, after everybody left the party, and my sister went up to my mother. My sister approached. Se acercó a mi madre. Said, Mama. She said, Mommy, somebody left their baby here. Alguien se dejó a su niño, su bebé. My mother said, No, Nancy, that's your little brother. She said, I don't want a little brother. So fue mi recepción al mundo. All right, I don't want a little brother. Yes, you do. Now, my sister and I were very different. My sister is like my father, and I'm like my mother. So my sister is a Vaughan, and I am an Adams Crosby. All right, with the two other lines, okay? Now, of course, my last name is Vaughan, but really I'm an Adams Crosby. The two sides of my mother's family. Yes, and a little bit of Vaughan, Tambini Campbell. Whew, a lot. Interesting lines. But in any case, so I lived in Houston for the first 9 years of my life. And then we moved. My father was transferred to Tulsa, Oklahoma. My father, I think, was a turnaround manager. He had the ability to dar la vuelta a agencias malísimas, hechos una pena, y convertirlas en máquinas de vender seguros. So he did that. That was his job in Tulsa, was to turn around. Turn around is dar la vuelta. To turn around the branch office in Tulsa, Oklahoma. At that time, in December 1960, John Kennedy had just defeated Richard Nixon to become president of the United States. I was in favor of Kennedy. The rest of my family was supporting Richard Nixon. I was always, yo siempre era el rebelde. I was always the rebel of the family. And in Tulsa, we arrived in December, and we went to a motel. I remember the Trade Winds Motel. El Motel Vientos Alicios. Okay, Trade Winds Motel. And we lived there for 1 month. 2 different rooms, one for my parents, one for my sister and me, for 1 month. But it was fun. But it was in the middle of the winter, and it was snowing. And for my mother, a Texas girl from San Antonio, it was hard. It was really hard for my mother. All right. And my father was looking for a house to rent. And he found a house. And in January, we moved to the house. But in the meantime, my mother visited the local schools, public schools, primary schools. And my mother encountered a dilemma because in Houston, several years before, both my sister and I started school in January. In Texas, at that time, there were 2 starting dates. Debido al boom demográfico del baby boom, Texas ponía 2 fechas de inicio, en párvulos. January 2nd, porque ahí no hay epifanía, no hay reyes. January 2nd or September 1st. And we started in January. When we went to Oklahoma, we had to move. My mother had to move us back medio curso or up half a course, half a year or back half a year. And my parents decided to move me back. When we moved to Oklahoma, I had finished 3rd grade. Ya terminé en diciembre del 60, tercero de primaria. O sea, tenía que haber empezado 4º. Pero tenía que optar entre mediados de tercero otra vez o mediados de 4º. Okay? And they moved me back. Me retrasaron. So I was the star of the class. For me, it was incredible. I knew everything. I had already seen the same things in Houston. So for me, the second semester, the semester from January to May, was simply a repetition of things I had already seen in Houston. So I was, yo brillaba, in front of the teacher, in front of my classmates, and also I was the fastest runner by far. Claro, llevaba 6 meses de mayor, como de la edad media de mis compañeros de clase. Yeah. And that gave me an advantage in sports, and it gave me an advantage in academic activities. A short-term advantage. After that, no, they caught up. Not in sports. But for my sister, they did the opposite. They moved her up half a year. It took her, she never recovered. She never recovered. Nunca se recuperó de eso, creo yo. Later, she was a good student, but it was a struggle. Because at the same time, she was starting secondary school. So it was tough for my sister. And we were living in Tulsa. And the winters in the American Midwest are very harsh. Harsh significa áspero, inviernos ásperos, duros. Hard winters with a lot of snow. I loved it. I could make snowman. And sledding, con trineo. I bought a sled. And next to my house, you open the front door of my house and there was a hill. You go up maybe 200 meters, turn it, and it was a lot of fun. But I'll tell you more another day. Take care.